So this is what I hear the Lord saying in regards to China and a little bit to Taiwan, but also mainly Australia. I'm going to come on to Australia at the end and focus a little bit on China first. So throughout the week, every morning, we have prophetic declaration groups as a ministry where we meet first thing in the morning. Groups meet first thing in the morning, and Fridays is our time for releasing prophetic declarations and praying and intercession and releasing prophetic decrees into the nations. And I was leading this morning, and it's Friday today. I was leading this morning, so we're praying about the nations and seeking God about the nations. And the Lord started speaking to me. He started speaking to me about China, Taiwan, and then also Australia. So I'm going to share this with you and sort of put it together. So it's a bit all over the place, but just kind of bear with me and go with the flow. We all know, if you look at the news or if you look at anything to do with current affairs, we all know that China is seeking closer ties with Taiwan or potentially even invading Taiwan. And I saw that China had placed within Taiwan magnets, and the magnets in China, and there was a magnetization between the two nations, and that China had actively planted these magnets within Taiwan. Now, I'm not talking about literal magnets, but these magnets are symbolic of China planting, whether it's propaganda or whether it's influence, whether it's political influence, whether it's money or whatever it is. But there's an element that China has attached itself into Taiwan to create a magnetization towards China, so the two countries can come together like magnets. And China actively seeking to invade Taiwan. And so I asked for Lord, and then I saw the rage of China. Now, the bit about China and seeking Taiwan, that's common knowledge. We know about that. But I started to see, though, the rage of China. And I asked the Lord, why is China so angry? Why is the rage? Why has China embraced this rage? Why is it so angry? And the Lord said to me, it's because of the dragon. Because China has embraced the dragon as its national symbol, its national emblem. It's that of a Chinese dragon. And then the Lord started to speak to me about, Revelation 12, Revelation 13. Satan is symbolized in Revelation 12 and 13 as a dragon that was full of rage, that was cast down, that went to make war upon the woman and the offspring. And so we see the rage of the dragon in Revelation 12 and Revelation 13. And so China taking on the symbol of a dragon. Well, that is China taking on the emblem of the identity of Satan, or it's taken on a characteristic, and it's mirroring the dragon or Satan. That was in Revelation 12, Revelation 13, which was angry. And so even by China taking on the emblem of a dragon, even by China mirroring a demonic symbol, it's mirroring the rage and the characteristics of that symbol, which is rage, which is anger. And so why is China angry? Well, it's because it's taken on the identity of Satan. It's taken on the identity of a dragon of Revelation 12, which is why it's angry. And then within that, the Lord started in our prayer group saying, speak to the storm. Speak to the storm of war. Speak to the storm of China invading Taiwan. In the same way that Jesus spoke to the storm, speak to the storm. So Jesus was reclining, I think it's in John. Anyway, it's in the Gospel. I can't think of the top of my head what Gospel it's in. But Jesus was in the boat where there's a storm, and the disciples woke up Jesus, and Jesus rebuked the storm and said, quiet, be still. And the storm obeyed. And the element of, we need to speak to the storm of invasion. We need to speak to the storm of war. Let's say, be quiet, be still. And then within that, I'll now change to Australia now, because the Lord started to then speak to me about Australia and how Australia has a role to play in China Taiwan and China's rage and China's anger. And I saw Taiwan, so I saw Australia. And I saw Australia being forced into a position it had never been before. Australia is ill prepared to deal with the issues that is going to be on its doorstep. And Australia has been, because of its geographical position, it's been globally disconnected. It's at the bottom of the world, and everything happens in Europe or the Middle East, and Australia, it's kind of like it's disconnected globally. It's isolated by water from the rest of the world, at the bottom of the world. It's globally disconnected, but because of the rage of China, I started to see Australia becoming more connected to global affairs. That China, so that Australia is forced into a position it has never been in before. Although Australia was involved in all the wars, Second World War, First World War, hasn't been on the forefront of these things. And so Australia I saw it being ill prepared. I saw it being ill prepared because it's been globally disconnected, but now there's a connection. And so the role of Australia was being repositioned globally, and Australia's positioning and Australia's role in the world was being repositioned on the global stage. And I saw that calls for the church in Australia to reposition itself. And I saw a call for the Australian church to reposition itself as watchmen, to reposition itself as prayers, to reposition itself as intercessors, and for a call for the church in Australia to start taking greater responsibility and to start praying, and the call of the church to come up higher into responsibility. Now, I don't know anything about Australian church. The only thing I know about Australian church is Hillsongs, but I kind of see the Church of Australia coming up higher, taking responsibility, and for a greater connection of church unity with New Zealand. And New Zealand and Australia, church unity between the two nations in church, of prayers, of watchmen, and starting to take responsibility. And as the church in Australia started to take greater responsibility because of the global change and Australia coming into a different, Australia repositioning itself on the global stage. I saw the rage of China coming against Australia, but then I saw a firewall up around Australia, so the rage wouldn't hit Australia because there's this wall of fire around Australia, protecting it. So it's cool for the church in Australia to start really taking responsibility as Australia starts to. I think we're going to see more of a shift of Australia globally, repositioning of Australia politically on the world stage. That calls for the church in Australia to take a serious responsibility and for the church to start to reposition itself as serious watchmen, of serious intercessors, of serious prayers, of greater unity with the church in New Zealand, and starting to come up higher in the area of responsibility because of China, because Australia is coming into a greater sense of prominence in the global stage. And so that's kind of what the Lord was speaking to me about this morning. And so this is my prophetic word to the Australia Church and to the wider body of Christ. Hope you found this helpful. I'm still processing it all and sort of like trying to make sense of it all myself, but that's kind of what I feel and what I hear the Lord saying this morning.